I'm Shelia Smoot. Welcome into the Shelia Smoot Show. Today we're going to be talking about your real estate and your delinquent property taxes. What do you do to redeem that property? How can you get your house back if somebody comes in and an investor takes it? I'm going to talk to you about how to do that. Welcome into the Shelia Smoot Show. I'm Shelia Smoot. Don't be a sucker, be a consumer. Welcome into the Shelia Smoot Show. I'm Shelia Smoot. Good to have you along on this great day. We got a lot in store for you, and we are just having a good time in here today. You know what? I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things. Your real estate taxes are due every end of the year, okay? So your real estate taxes are due every end of the year. So some of you get a little confused about why you basically have to pay your taxes on your home. It's a mortgage thing if you own your home. And when you don't, somebody swoops in and they take it. So we're going to deal with that. And also don't forget John Robbins' Crime of the Week. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But right now, we are going to talk about 5 ways to dig yourself out of trouble. Break debt into small pieces. Break debt into small pieces. Now, generally, paying off your credit card debt with high interest rates, you do that first. You've got to have a plan, folks. You got to have a plan. If you're digging and digging and digging and you're deep in debt, as some of your attorney friends will tell you, you've got to make sure you have a plan. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, if it may help for you to focus on the smaller things first. You need to focus on the smallest debt first. That can help you in getting out of that hole. I know a lot of you say, well, I got $10,000 in debt. I'm going to pay it all off now. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to get in a frame of mind because life is what? A learned behavior. So you got to get in that frame of mind where you can get out. So don't start at the top. Start at the bottom. Don't start at the top. Start at the bottom to get your way out of debt. So 5 ways to dig yourself out of trouble. That has to do with that. Start with the smallest first. Number 2, track every simple thing on your spending. Simple. Every bit of it. Right down to the Starbucks cup. Track everything. So every day, I was going to get a cup of coffee. Every day. An expensive cup of coffee. And my father asked me one time, he said, why do you buy that expensive cup of coffee? And I'm thinking, I really don't know. It tastes good. So I asked my barista, why am I buying this expensive cup of coffee? And he said, because it's an experience. I go back, I tell my dad, because it's an experience. He says, it's a bad one. You're having a bad experience. So I did the budget. I was blowing $100 a month. Like, I'm consistently at $485 a day. Then, ding, 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 I decided to do 2 cups a day. That is over $10 a day on coffee, 5 days a week. And if I'm out and about on the weekend, I'm like, because they got you hooked, right? They got you hooked. I'm literally spending $50 a week on a cup of coffee, tea in the drive-thru at my favorite coffee spot, right? I added that up. You did it. $200 for coffee or tea or bagel. And then I add to it, right? I want a banana nut loaf, warm. Yeah, green tea, matcha green tea latte, no foam, 1 stevia, shaken, not stirred. That's what I was doing. $200 a month. So I went back, and I like tea, so I do a lot of green tea. I went back and went to the grocery store, and I said, you know what? I'm going to start buying tea. I cut that budget off. And of course I treat myself. I always treat myself well. You should too. But you know what? At the end of the day, don't do it. Don't go $200 a month. You know what that is a year, right? I'm not going to do the math here right now, but you know what that is. So do not do that. Track every bit of your spending. Also, don't miss any payments. Don't be late on your credit card payments. That will plummet, like seriously, plummet your credit score. Don't ask me why. Oh, they know you're going to pay it. But let me tell you what some credit card companies are doing. Yeah, you're going to pay it. But if you don't pay it right on that due date, happened to me, they're like, oh, thank you for paying it. You're not really late, but you're a day late, but you're not 30 days late. I'm like, okay, it's not late for 30 days. It's not going to hit my credit, right? Okay, no. But guess what they do? They charge you a late fee. $35. A late fee. I was floored. I'm like, you're charging me a late fee, but I'm not really late. No, you're not late for the reporting on your credit report. You're late to them, but it's not really late. It is some tricks out here, so don't be late on your credit card payments, all right? All right, boost your income. Guess what, folks? You got a husband like I do with a good credit score? Get on his credit card, but you can't use it. It will boost your income. Let me go to my phone lines and see who I'm checking in with. My guest is Attorney Greg Stanley. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Good morning, Dr. Smoot. How are you?
I'm good. I am. He called me Dr. Smoot because I have a Juris Doctorate degree. Yes, I am Dr.
I do, ma'am.
Shelia Smoot.
That's right.
And my great professor at the Birmingham School of Law, who trained me on contract law, and he's the best in the business at real estate because I am a licensed real estate personnel as well. And people say, how many jobs you got, Smoot? Like several streams of income. And that's what we're doing. Good morning to my great guru, Attorney Greg Stanley. And Greg,
well, I don't know about any of that, but I did have something important that I wanted to talk to you about today. If you have a minute to talk about property taxes.
I do. Your real estate taxes, why you don't want them to be delinquent, folks. Greg, hit me up.
Well, I'm here to tell you, Alabama's laws have changed. And if you're in Shelby County or Jefferson County or St. Clair County, the law has changed and it does affect you. And the problem is this. If you don't pay your taxes, you may never get another notice until they are foreclosing on your taxes, on your house, and you may not even know about it when that happens.
Wow, that's bad.
It's the new law, and it's gone into effect in all three of those counties, and it's most of the counties in the state right now have gone to this new law. And instead of it being where you have to, in the old under the old law, you had to adversely possess the property for 3 years.
Adversely meaning what? Adversely meaning
that means that you kick the other person out of it. You hold it adverse to them. You exclude everyone else from that property. For example, if it is a house, then you would have to evict that person, get them out of the house. So the homeowner doesn't pay their taxes. Then the tax investor has to kick those people out of the house and then keep the house for 3 years before they can quiet the title on it.
And cash in on their investment, right? Okay, what's changed about it?
Now they don't have to adversely possess the property for 3 years. Under the new law, and I don't understand why Alabama legislators did this, but under the new law, they don't have to adversely possess that property for a minute. After 3 years, they can just foreclose and take the house and evict you from the house at that time.
So you could stay in the house. They bought it for taxes, but after 3 years, they can just say, hey, you got to go. No court records, no nothing. You just got to get out.
Well, no, they'll have to do a foreclosure in the court.
Okay.
But the thing is, if you're like me, Sheila, and you get a lot of mail, and you may not even realize that you were told that they're foreclosing on your house. And all they have to do is send you one letter. And if you don't get that letter, if for example, your husband gets the letter or your wife gets the letter, and they didn't realize it was that important, so they just set it on the table, and it just sat on the table for a few months. Well, I'm here to tell you, they're going to go to court, and if you're not there, they're going to default you, and they're going to award your house to that tax lien investor. And that's going to happen without you ever being kicked out of your house. As I say, under the old law, you had to be kicked out of your house or off your property, if it's land. You had to be kicked off for 3 years. You had 3 years of physical notice that, that this other person is in possession of your property so you can redeem it. Well, the problem is with this new law, if they kick you out of your house, it's it. It's you can't redeem anymore.
Wow. That is
I know,
tragic.
it's crazy.
That's crazy, tragic.
It's a
All of
crazy
them.
law.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Okay, is there
Bad for everybody. Everybody loses under this new law.
and what is the recourse for the homeowner?
After the foreclosure, there is no recourse.
So it's
I mean, they could. I guess they could appeal it, but the judge is going to say, well, why should we appeal? Why should we turn this ruling over?
mm-hmm.
They didn't do anything wrong. They did everything right. They bought your taxes. They waited the appropriate period of time. You never came in. You never bought your taxes back
Mm-hmm.
because you never got any more notices. After they buy the taxes, you don't get a notice anymore. The tax notice goes to the other person. It goes to the person who bought the taxes.
Wow.
So you won't even know that you're not paying your taxes because you're not even getting a tax bill anymore. So the cure for this, Sheila, is this. If you didn't pay your taxes this year, and your taxes, I got bad news and good news. The bad news is your taxes were due last month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I should say they were late last month.
Yeah, they're
So
late
if you
after
haven't-
the end of the year. Any year, they are late after the year goes into the next year, folks. So you're late. That's what Greg is talking about. So,
Right.
continue.
The property taxes are due in October, but then they're late in January. So now, if you didn't pay your taxes this year, if you had a lot of my friends have exemptions, so they don't have to pay their taxes because they're of a certain age, or they have a certain disability, or whatever their reason is. But a lot of my friends have these exemptions, and they don't have to pay taxes. They don't have to pay the property taxes. But what they do have to do is send in this form every year.
Mm-hmm.
Every year they have to send the form in. Well, if you forgot to send that form in, they're going to sell your taxes. And if they sell that tax, and then that investor forecloses on you, and like I said, they only have to give you one notice. And if you miss that one notice that they send you, you've lost your house.
So when do the notices typically come out, Greg? When would a notice like that typically hit you? Will it hit you during the tax year or right after you're late the following
Now,
year?
everyone should have received a tax notice back in September.
Right.
Or
right.
In order to pay their taxes.
Of that year,
But,
right.
Right. So this last September, everybody should have received a tax notice. And the thing is, though, that if they didn't receive the tax notice, or they didn't get that form in the mail to extend their exemption, if they didn't get that form, or for some reason, again, we get a lot of mail. There's a lot of junk mail that comes in.
It's too much.
And
too much
and
junk
if we
mail.
didn't get that form, or we thought we did get it and we accidentally threw it away, or we have the grandchildren over and they dropped it in the trash can for us, doing us a favor, Well, when that sort of thing happens, but yeah, they're just trying to help us out, right?
Trying to help you
They're
with the
5 years old.
clutter. Yeah.
Yeah, or even my oldest child, who I love dearly. My oldest child's a girl, and when she comes over and visits us, the first thing she does is go to the cabinets, and she says, "Well, Dad, this is expired. This expired last month. You can't eat this. You have to throw this away." I'm like, "Baby, it's just a date." She says, "No," and she throws it away.
Don't throw away a tax notice, folks. Don't do that. Don't throw away a tax notice.
Absolutely, don't treat that like an out of date,
like
an out of date
expired
can of corn
meat.
now.
No.
Exactly. So you got to pay that.
You got to pay that for real. So, Greg, you talked about that expiration date, the tax notice one time. Okay, they got that, so they don't pay it. What happens after that? I mean, so you're into the next tax year. You didn't notice it came. It got thrown away, whatever, and you didn't pay it. Now what?
So that's where we are. That's where we are right now, Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't remember paying your taxes in the last several months, if you can't find that check where you paid those taxes, or you don't remember filling out that form to get that waiver, to get that exemption from paying your property taxes on your personal home, then call your county tax your county tax collector.
The tax collector. Okay.
Yep. Call your county tax collector. Give them your address or your name, and make sure that they are talking about the right address, and see if your taxes have been paid. And if they have not been paid, you've got until March to get them paid. Now you're going to pay a late fee now. Okay, you're going to be paying a fee, and the fee gets worse as it gets closer to March. But if you don't pay in March, that's when they're going to sell it. They're going to sell those taxes to an investor. Now, some of these investors are not bad people. Some of these investors are buying these taxes, and they're doing it to collect interest, and that's what keeps the county running. Is that money? Okay,
right.
That's what keeps the county running.
That's what keeps them running.
People say, "Well, that doesn't go to the schools." Yes, it does. That the money from your property taxes is what keeps the schools open. Okay, it's the county uses that money. That is the main source of income for the county is property taxes. So all the services that they provide are being paid for in part by those property taxes. So these people who are paying the taxes, they're not necessarily bad people. But by the same token, just because they're not bad people doesn't mean that you're not going to lose your house.
Because they're there to make money, and that's how they do it. And you are going to lose with the type of investors I've seen, Greg. And you teach this stuff. I've taught this stuff with you. You've trained me. It happens, and it will happen. What is the recourse if an investor? Okay, you still didn't pay, and it's March. They have sold the property on the courthouse steps or the types of ways they do it these days. Now what?
Well, that's the problem, Sheila, that people might not even know that this happened.
Right.
Because if they didn't get that notice, letting them know that property is going to be sold, if for some reason the address was wrong on the assessment, if it said 2103 instead of 2103A, you're not even going to know that property got sold because it went to the wrong address. There's various different reasons why you may not know. But if that property does sell and you figure it out, you find out that it's sold, then your recourse is going to be the same thing, Sheila. You need to call the tax office. You need to call the tax collector in your county. And I'm here to tell you that the tax folks, the tax collectors, they want you to redeem. They don't want you to lose your house. They are going to help you get that property tax paid.
Some of them need to be nicer at the counter. I'm just saying, but yeah, they do.
Well,
want you to get
that
your
is
house.
true.
They can be a little rude.
True.
I'm not going to call no names, but yeah. How about a little customer service on those tax collections? But you're right, Greg. They do really want you to get your property back.
And I'll say this, especially Shelby County. Shelby County wants you to redeem your property. They go above and beyond to help homeowners get their property back before they lose it. And they're leading the way as far as trying to help people not lose their property. And I appreciate that about Shelby County, but not all the counties are doing the same things. But they all do, in my experience is, they all do want you to redeem your property, pay those taxes, pay the penalties, and get the property back into your name. They all want that. So either way, that's the answer. The problem is, folks of a certain age get to the point where they may not remember whether they paid the taxes this year or was that last year. I filled out that form, but you got to fill out that form every year to get that waiver on your taxes. And here's another thing: if you moved into a home, if you moved into care, and you don't live in your home anymore, that tax exception doesn't count anymore. So now the taxes are going to have to be paid on that home. And if you think, oh, well, the county won't find out that I moved into care, they will.
Oh, yeah. The county will find out that you moved into care, and you can't keep being, as you're telling me, you can't keep being tax exempt if you've left that home, even though you've left it in your name. You've gone on to a senior care facility, and you think somebody in the family is going to live and not have to pay taxes. They will find you, folks. They will find you.
It has to be where you live.
Where you live, and they will find you that you're quote unquote tax exempt, but you're not living in that house, but you've got your nephew or your daughter or your son or somebody else, and you're collecting rent, and you're not paying taxes. And they will find you.
I'll tell you, this is a story that I have seen more than once. The matriarch, the mom, the grandma, the great grandma,
the great woman of the family.
That's right. She has moved out of her home because she needs help. She's either moved into a care facility, or she's moved in with her daughter, or she's moved in with her son, and another child or a grandchild moves in to her house and is living there, taking care of her house for her. And then when they get that tax bill in the mail, they've never seen a tax bill. They've never bought.
They don't know what it is.
They don't know. They don't even know what it is.
They don't
and they
get
say,
it.
"Well, this is a bill for Granny. This is a bill for Grandma. I'm not paying this."
Right. It's
And
not
they
my
took
responsibility, and they chunk it.
And
Now what?
Once they, the taxes get sold. So to recap what you and I were talking about, if you haven't paid your taxes this year, make sure that you check and confirm, check your checkbook, make sure you paid that taxes, make sure you submitted that form for your waiver. If you didn't, if you can't remember for sure that you paid, check with the county. Ask the county, are my taxes paid? Now, if you have a child who can do this for you, or if you're very clever and you can go online yourself, you can actually go online in all the counties in Alabama. You can go online and check it yourself.
You can
now,
check it.
A lot of my friends don't use the computers that way, and they don't have a phone that they can figure out how to do that on, and so a lot of my friends, they just need to make the phone call.
Okay,
so
you're saying you're saying you're old, right? No, kidding. A lot of your
I am.
You're saying your friends can't use. You're saying your friends can't use the phone. I'm like, so you're saying chat with a child because you're okay. Continue on, Attorney Greg Stanley. You're welcome into the Shelia Smoot Show. I'm Shelia Smoot. I am not calling you old, but if
and I am the old punching bag, Attorney Greg Stanley.
Okay,
we're here for Sheila's fun and enjoyment.
And I love you. You know I do.
I do, and I know, and I love you too.
Only you and I and the next attorney of record that's going to call after this show can have this situational conversation, because we kind of see eye to eye. We see eye to eye. So.
Oh, so John Roberts is coming on, huh?
Oh yeah, John Roberts is the crime of the week guy, so he's going to be coming
I'm a
on
little
too.
jealous.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous of John,
Yeah, I know, but you guys.
He gets his time with you, and I don't know, I'm a little jealous about that.
Yeah, I just love the information. I mean, you're right. Going back to the fact that, somebody else is in the house, the taxes have been sold, and now you are SOL. And so, how does one get out of that? Or do they? These investors. These investors, Greg. Is there a way to redeem at that point? Or are these investors? Okay, talk to me about it quickly.
The answer is always going to be the same. Go to the county. Go to the county where you live. Go to the county tax collector, and you can usually call them. If you can get through, I'll be honest, Jefferson County, sometimes you just have to call and call.
Keep calling, or go down there, John, Greg, because they have several different offices. Hoover, Bessemer is good, Hoover's good, and then downtown, that will do this part of the work depending on what division you're in. But yeah, you're right. You got to keep going.
If you can't get them on the phone, call a different division and ask them to connect you. That's what I found sometimes works. So if I can't get through to tax collection, I go to tax assessment, and then they will transfer me over. And for some reason, they'll pick it up then. But the point is, make sure that you get that tax paid. And every day that you're not paying it right now, it's increasing because you're late. So let's get that taken care of. Put it an agenda item, write it on your calendar. Let's make sure that we take care of that Monday. Let's get our property taxes caught up on Monday. Make sure that you've got your property taxes paid, and save yourself some money and save yourself a lot of heartache.
Because this thing is real. They will take your property. They will swoop in on you, folks. It can happen. Attorney Greg Stanley, tell me, parting shots, what is your advice?
My advice is don't get old.
Don't get old. That's number one.
Don't get old.
And don't let your taxes get old.
And don't let your taxes get old. Number two would be, if you're not sure that you paid your taxes this year or sent in your form, make sure that you do that. And again, it's gotten much worse, because what will happen is, after a certain period of time, they can foreclose. They can go to the courthouse and they can foreclose and take the title to your house while you're still living in it. And that's a big change from previous years.
Wow. That is scary, and I appreciate you. You want to get in touch with Attorney Greg Stanley, Stanley and Associates in Irondale. Just do that at 205-451-4196, 205-451-4196. Stanley and Associates, Attorney Greg Stanley, attorney at law. And one thing I want to ask you, Greg, before I say goodbye to you, will you pick up the phone? I'm just kidding.
Well,
you got
honestly,
a great response time. You really do. You're like the
We are
police
very-
of fire.
I don't know that I'd say that, but I
Your
will
folks
say
are there.
this. We've got 3 people now who are sitting in the front office to take calls and make sure that people get handled.
That's the name of the game, yeah.
We're going to do everything we can to help folks, and we prioritize. You need to know we prioritize. If somebody's losing their house to taxes, that's a top priority for us.
All right. Greg Stanley, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure having you on, and we'll see you next time, okay?
Thank you, ma'am. Be blessed.
Be blessed. Okay. Attorney Greg Stanley, you heard him there. And, folks, it is definitely that I'm telling you, pay your taxes, your property taxes. That tax notice comes in the mail. They are very good at sending that. Open the mail. I'm bad at opening mail, so open the mail. I've learned to do better. Not just emails, the physical mail, because it's coming in your physical mail. I need to make that clarification. I'm consumer advocate Shelia Smoot. If your phone is ringing off the hook with bill collectors, I've got 4 letters you can send certified mail to stop those nasty calls. You know the drill. Screening your calls and dreading the ring, and aggressive bill collectors on your case. The first letter, tell me more about this debt. Send this letter within 30 days of a collector's first call. Second, dispute and proof. If you know a bill isn't yours or it's paid off, this letter stops them from contacting you until they can prove they own the debt. The third letter, don't call me, I'll call you. Use the sample letter when they bug you at work. And finally, the drop dead letter. This one tells a persistent bill collector to stop contacting you, and by federal law, they have to. Remember, don't be a sucker, be a consumer. I am Shelia Smoot. Good to have you along. Thank you for joining me today. You're listening to the Shelia Smoot Show. I am Shelia Smoot. And remember, don't be a sucker, be a consumer. We'll see you next time.